show you 36 photos, so exactly one roll of Kodak Gold that I shot in Tokyo. I still have quite a few videos from my time in Japan coming up, however I have even more photos to which I didn't really record any footage. In Japan, I shot more film than I have ever shot before, and that was because I knew that if there is one occasion or place where I would later regret not shooting enough, it was going to be here. Last time I came was 2016, and back then I wasn't yet into photography, and so ever since I found my love for this medium, I've had this feeling that I have some catching up to do, because 2016 I sort of missed my opportunity. That partially explains why I shot so much in Japan this year, and a lot of it was on film. And as you know, I love to talk about photography and about my photos and discuss or simply appreciate them on this channel, and so today I thought it'd be fun to lay out the photos from this roll and chat about them with you. What I like about this set of photographs is that they document the span of about 3 or 4 days in March, and I find that they beautifully portray what March or spring in Tokyo feels like. So I hope you enjoy. So the first almost half of the roll is from a sunny day when I met up with a friend called Tatsuki, who by the way also has a YouTube channel. It's really cool, so check it out. We met to simply explore the city and spend the day strolling around and shooting. So I've laid out all the photographs from this roll in pairs or sometimes in threes and even in fours just to present them to you like this. And so let's start off with these two pictures. By the way, the pictures are not necessarily chronologically in order. The left photo is not really of a certain subject, I'd say. It's more of just capturing the atmosphere, although I do remember that it was that tree, the really big one, that initiated this photo. So we were just walking past that street and I spotted that tree and thought, wow, that's a huge tree for this random street in Harajuku. And then the right photo is just in the same area, and I remember that I got this for various reasons. So I really liked that tree coming out of the bush and the shade that it shines onto that. I suppose that's a garage, but also look at those tiles, that vibrant teal color, very interesting stuff here. And I liked how it contrasted the red of the sign and the, what's that, how do you call those? The thing that says Hong Kong Taste. A minor detail that I really enjoyed here, that was also a reason why I felt all the more inclined to shoot the shot, was that umbrella. So that just felt very Japanese to me. I don't know why, because I'm sure in other countries they do that as well, meaning just hang the umbrella somewhere. I feel like here in Austria they don't do that as much, and they prefer to just put the umbrella into a corner or something. And also it's just hanging there on this sunny day. It felt a bit weird and ironic, so, you know, just I thought it added to the photo. I appreciate it. Then these two photos are also still in Harajuku, and you have to know that Harajuku is just in the middle of Tokyo, and I was so surprised again to see how much contrast there is between places like the Shibuya Scramble, which are just completely packed with people, and then these random streets which are also just completely in central Tokyo, but there's not many people around. I didn't really have to wait for long to have these scenes empty, and I just love how much greenery there is. I talked about this in a video in which we were shooting in exactly this street actually, that video at night in Harajuku shooting Lomoe 100. That was actually in this street. This photo, I'll put it in post, I shot as I was standing right here next to that pipe. It's just that road to the left there. And so here, might be interesting to see the same place during the day, and the right shot is in a similar spirit. I just wanted to capture these streets that are packed with so many interesting little details, such as that house back there with the bed sheets just lying there being dried, I suppose, after a washing or something. And then all the plants. I'm just so impressed how Tokyo, such a huge city, manages to have so much greenery and so much nature. It really makes for a nice atmosphere in the city, I find. And so that theme continues, and here are two photos which I think are not as good as the ones before, but I still wanted to include them just to show you the whole roll. These are sort of random other shots of little corners of Harajuku that I enjoyed. Then let's continue with these two photos. The left one I got just as we were leaving that area that I just showed you, and the right one I believe was at some other point in the day, I don't quite remember. But the left one I got because I really liked this scene of the construction workers, and something very Japanese in this scene was that it seemed like what they were doing only required 2 people maximum, but they had way many more there. They were always very over-prepared, which is quite Japanese. If you've been to Japan before, I'm sure you would have noticed that as well. And I just really like this scene with the cherry blossoms in the background, so I got this photo. It's not special, but still a nice scene and a decent photograph of the scene, I suppose. But then the right photo, I must say, I like a lot. I'm really fond how this turned out for maybe obvious reasons. I just love how the light falls in from outside into this garage, and then towards the left the frame just goes completely black, and it's just a beautiful scene of light, I find, with lots of intriguing details, such as that cart that just sort of bridges the two areas of light and dark. But then it's also details like that no parking sign that sort of decorates that wall there. And another like minor detail is that little, I don't know what you call those. It looks like a tiny shrine, not a shrine, but you know, one of those elements that you often see in shrines, just hiding somewhere in this random parking area, which I think makes for this very intriguing scene. But mainly I got it for the light, which I like a lot. Then from Harajuku we continued to Shibuya, and I got these two shots, which I'd say are much less special. I mainly got the left shot because I thought it was beautiful to see all the cherry blossoms in a row along this road, and it's just a wide sort of establishing shot of the day, but I wouldn't say it's a portfolio worthy photo or anything. It's just another photo on the roll, and I think it's pretty decent. Whereas the right photo I think is a good bit more interesting actually, because I really like that bridge that they've got there. Very typical big city, I suppose, two buildings being connected with a bridge so that the people don't even have to go outside. And I love that there are so many people actually in there, becoming sort of the subject of the photo. Then here are two more photos that I got pretty much in the same area. So you have to know I was shooting with the Olympus Mu to 38 to 140 or something, and the numbers stand for the focal length, so it has an insane zoom that goes to 170 millimeters, not just 140, 170 millimeters, and I was taking full advantage of that, as you can see. So in the left photo, that was just some, I believe it might have even been the Shibuya Sky building, and I saw this person there wearing a white, looks like a dress or something, and that was vital, because if the person were wearing black I probably wouldn't have even spotted them, but because they were wearing white, it would even work really well in the photograph. At least I think it worked out wonderfully. I love how the photo is so compressed and just completely focuses on shapes and structure of the building, and then suddenly you see that one person who just adds a sense of scale. So I really like that one. And then the right photo I also really like. It's sort of abstract, it's a weird angle. Similar to the left photo again, it's very focused on just a tiny little part of a frame that could have been much wider. And I think I mainly got this, if I remember correctly, because Tats noticed how this one driver was so peaceful in comparison to the other ones, because the traffic light was red and so many of the drivers had their hands on the steering wheel ready to get going as soon as it gets green. And this person was just sitting back, hands, how do you say that? Hands away from the steering wheel and just relaxing. And it was very funny in a way, to just the contrast. Of course I didn't photograph the contrast now because you can't see the other drivers, but I do really like this detailed frame that I picked out here. Then here are three photographs I got of more or less the same subject. So we continued to walk from Shibuya to, I don't really know where we continued, but as we were continuing we crossed a little bridge that led across this canal, and this canal was being cleaned at that time, and I had never seen that before. I didn't know that was a thing, that Tokyo cleans their canals or something, but apparently they do, and I thought it was a very interesting scene. And I think I might have gotten the horizontal shot first and then realized that this is the perfect scene for a vertical shot, and that's why I then got the vertical photo. I just really like it. I mentioned in the last video that I have my difficulties with vertical photos and I much prefer to shoot horizontal, but this is the perfect example for a great use of vertical, because in the horizontal photo you can see I just cut off the buildings in the back, but here the whole photo stretches from the foreground, the people cleaning the canal, all the way to the back, and then you can't really see the horizon, but you see all the buildings, the tall buildings going up into the air. And while I still didn't get all of them, of course, because they're so high, at least that one at the back in the right is completely in frame, just to add a bit more context, I suppose. Whereas the horizontal photo just cuts off everything. So I really, really like that vertical one. And then lastly, I got this detail shot of just the one person with a huge brush. No, it's not a brush. I don't really know what you call those, but you know what I mean. I thought this was another interesting scene, mainly because I've never seen this being done, so I thought it was a very interesting subject for a photograph. And then we continued along the canal, and as we were walking there, we came to this building, but the back of the building. That's why it doesn't really look like a very, how should I say, inviting. It doesn't look very inviting because it was just the back of the building. So the foreground at the bottom, you can see that is the canal that we just passed. And there was this one worker that came out for a smoke, and then later another worker came out, and I was really, really fond of the different elements there. Tats as well, if I remember correctly. Tats was also taking a lot of pictures of this scene, and I just really like how simple it is. It's very flat in a way. There's no depth, but in a very good way, because it's just full of different elements. I love that there's that splash of color from the towels that are there. I'm really not sure if I prefer the one with just one subject or with two. Alright then, here are two photos from a completely different area. I remember at some point we decided to go to Shimokitazawa, which is a place that Tats recommended, and as we got there it felt very peaceful. It was so quiet and much fewer people, and it felt very residential. And in the left photo we were just walking down this street, and I saw this kid in the karate outfit. He probably just came from training. And I thought it was such a funny scene to see all these different people. So one person on the bike, one person with a cart from some restaurant or cafe maybe, then you've got a couple at the back, and then just that one kid in the karate outfit. And I thought it was a very funny and amusing scene. And so photographically it's a bit random, but I think that's totally fine because just the subjects themselves completely make the photo, for me at least. And in the right photo, sort of similarly, I was just intrigued by the guy sitting outside with the laptop, and I thought that was a cool scene, so I got this photo. And then that pretty much ends that day. So I think the photo of the cherry blossoms here is still from Shimokitazawa, but the right photo, as you can see, was just at home where we were staying at my grandmum's. Yeah, I guess two somewhat random photos. I really like the left one just because the cherry blossoms were so beautiful, and the way the colors contrast the blue of the sky just looks so pretty. It's a very typical Japan in spring photo, but I just couldn't resist. I mean, look at this, it's just beautiful. And in the right photo, I was just trying to catch another scene of just another afternoon at home. Kind of turned out random though. Then here are 4 photos from a night out in Shinjuku. This was when Tats and I met again, but we also met 2 other friends, Johnny and Hikaru, and together with them we just walked around Shinjuku, exploring Shinjuku at night, and shot a bunch of photos. And I was mainly shooting digital that evening with the Lumix, and I think I'll be showing you those photos at some point as well. But for now, here are the film photos, which I'm more concentrated on just shooting the group at times, and the more photographic side where I was just shooting different areas of Shinjuku, I was doing digital that evening. So there's not really that much to say here. These aren't really photos that I was intending to be photographically super. I wasn't trying to get the most unique compositions or anything. Although I do have to say I really like that photo of Tats with the flash and the people just walking behind him as he was also shooting something. I don't remember what he was shooting, but I really like that one. Then continuing with the night shots with Kodak Gold 200, by the way, which is not exactly the best idea for night, I suppose, but luckily the Olympus is equipped with a wonderful flash, and that is exactly what I was trying to do here. This was an evening when Melly and I decided to visit Nakameguro, which is a very famous and popular place to go during the cherry blossoms season. And we had gotten off a station away from Nakameguro so that we could walk there. And on that walk, I saw all sorts of beautiful scenes, 2 of which are these. The left photo is very random, so I was thinking, oh, I wonder if it looks cool to get this flash photo with the lamp in the photo. I think it just looks completely random. It didn't really work out, but the right one I think looks really cool. So I don't really know why this one works much better, maybe because of that lamp on the left, which is so much brighter. I was thinking, oh no, wait a minute, is this even using a flash? now when I look at it, it doesn't look flashed. It's really just that light from the back. That must have been such a bright light because I was shooting ISO 200. But anyway, I just really like how this one turned out. The colors, the greens in the back, then contrasting the very pastel-like rose color of the cherry blossoms. I think this is a random shot that turned out really nicely. Then let's continue with the last day that I shot on this roll of Kodak Gold. So this was a day in sometime middle of March, and I suppose the end of March because it was full-blown cherry blossom season, and Melly and I decided to go to the Showa Kinen Park in Tachikawa. And in the left photo, we were just walking down a little hill, I think, to get to this road, and I saw these two here. Looked like just two friends enjoying a nice day in the park, and I just really liked the scene because the light was so beautiful, and the way the one with the yellow shirts was holding the umbrella. I thought it was such a cute scene, so I got the photo and I'm really happy with it. I like how all the other people who are in the frame are all at the back, sort of being part of the background scenery, and there are no other people in the foreground on the road. On the road it's literally just them, so that the focus really stays on them, and I really like how this one turned out. And then in the right photo, Melly was just walking ahead of me. I don't really remember if this was a candid shot and Melly was literally just walking away from me, or if I asked her to stop and just look that way for a moment and then I snapped the photo. I don't remember, but whichever way it was, I think it's really cool because I really like that hat of hers and the way it just covers the eyes. I always find it very interesting at times when you photograph a person but you can't see the eyes because it makes them so anonymous in a way. And here I think that worked very nicely, and I think just the backdrop with the bridge and all the greenery and the cherry blossoms, it's such a beautiful frame. I really like it. Then we moved on to the more crowded area. So you must know this was in the middle of March on a sunny day on, I think it was a Sunday or a Saturday. So it was completely packed. It was really full, really busy, but in a good way. It was very lively. And there were these two children who, by the way, because it's this photo that is very just standalone of the children, and I didn't really have any approval from the parents to show them, so I've kind of just blacked out their faces just in case. But I think you still get the gist of why I got the photo and why I like them so much. So the left one, I love that pose of the kid with the hand up on the hat, and also the outfit just works so well with the red elements on the t-shirt with the red hat. And I just really like the lighting and just the whole combination, so I got this shot. And also on the right photo, you can't quite make it out in the photo. I think it was just such a funny scene because this child was pulling that stool, and I mean, you can see the stool was half the size of the child, and I think it was just a tad bit too heavy maybe, and the child was really struggling, just come on, and the child wanted to get that ball that is just on the edge of the frame, and the way it was dragging the stool just looked funny, so I got the shot. And I really like how in the background you can see how intensely busy the area was. But as I said, it was not bad actually. It didn't feel the same as when you go to places that really feel overcrowded, because the park really is huge, and so here it looks like it was very dense, but actually there were a lot of spots that were quiet again. So anyway, let's move on to the last three photos. On the left, I spotted this very cute scene just as we were walking by, just to get to that field that you can see in the right photo. And I just thought it was so cute the way the mum and her child were sitting there, and the child wrapped their arm around the back, and I thought it was a sweet, sort of, again, anonymous scene because you can't really see the child's face, and also the mother you can't really see, but you still just feel so much emotion from just the way they're sitting together and the hand is wrapped around the back. I thought it was a very cute scene, and also the grass, look at the grass with all the little cherry blossoms. I thought it was just a very beautiful scene, and that's why I got the photo. And then the right photo, that's one of my favorite photos, not just from this roll, but generally. I just really love how this one turned out. You can see how wide and huge that park is. And then I happened to catch this foreground of this couple that were just packing their stuff, and together they were folding their blanket. And I just really liked the scene and the idea of having them in the foreground of this photograph, and I think it worked out wonderfully. And then here is the last photograph on this roll. So there was this little resting area next to this lake, and Melly was sitting there, and I was just really liking how the light was coming from outside, and we were in the shade, so it made for sort of a backlit look. and I just liked the scene, so I got this shot and I think it turned out very nicely. Maybe just a little bit overexposed. The contrast is kind of faded away and is a little bit too bright maybe, but still I think it gets the point across. I like the framing, although actually now when I think about it, I don't really like how the pillar is coming out of Millie's head. But I only noticed that now. I think apart from that, I still really like the photo. So yeah, that sort of ends the showcase of this roll. This was just one of the rolls that I shot in March in Tokyo, and I really like it. I think it's just a nice series on one roll that shows what late March in Tokyo can be like, and happen to have a couple cool photos and a lot of decent photos. And I think no photos that I think are just completely throwaways. I think all of them are somewhat decent. So yeah, that's that. I hope you enjoyed it.